Hello and welcome to the Prom 9, and teardown day has come for this, a little later than expected, but hey. But we're not going to do a full watching me screw it and all that jazz. We're just going to pull out the modules that we haven't seen before. I'll link the main video below, so it'll give you some biscuit eating time or whatnot. I like watching videos and just sitting there eating. And then there'll be this, which is more of a follow-up to the previous video where I didn't completely pull down parts to their bare minimum. So, don't turn it on. Take it apart. This doesn't turn on anyway. Not very well. Interesting note, the shielding on these panels is actually completely non-conductive. There isn't even any points for it to be. Hang on, let me just stop that. Is that it's non-conductive, which is interesting because you'd think it want to transport the negative signal round to shield it. So, not sure how the shielding fully works there. And on the back of the tube we have a 1600 volt capacitor. So we're looking at probably the tube using about a kilovolt, roughly. I don't know its value because, as usual, these capacitors are marked utterly terribly. And we've even got some markings on the various pins of what they are. H, MFS, G1. I don't know what any of these are, but it's still an interesting note. I'm not sure what part this will be covering, but you've got capacitor goes between this pin here and this very pin up here. Not quite sure. I'd imagine it'll be between the main power rails, the negative, and of course the main anode, the final anode. As expected, a Google search brings back nothing on any of the chips. So yeah, as expected, all custom jobbers. I lie, perhaps not all the data sheets. So from the data sheet, this is basically the Vidicon that can vertical deflection circuit. There'll probably be a horizontal one, which will probably be in the shielded can from my guess, which is also a whole ton of isolation. So this could actually be more likely the flyback transformer going to this nice big HP lead here. These two, and it's also silicon, so yeah, this is the flyback. This is obviously the heater because they're nice big thick high current wires, and these ones, these are all non-detachable from the board. This one just goes to the other board or something. This one goes up and basically is your horizontal control lines and whatnot and all that jazz and heater stuff, and of course the coils. Actually, this could be electrostatically operated. We will see. We're yet to find that one out fully. But yeah, this looks like it's very much the deflection board control, and also it takes in the power because we've got a fuse soldered down here. We've got a big ass power cap. Oh, it'd be nice to see what voltage that cap runs at. I don't know what any of these chips are. These are all transistors, these smaller components. Yeah, lots of analog goodness in this, and a few ferric coil things, inductors, that's the name I was looking for. And here's another inductor up here and another one over here. So yeah, you're very much looking at what is probably the power for the whole thing, and the deflection control circuitry would be my guess, and a very good guess from searching some of the data sheets that are around. This board is not so kind on its whole data sheets provided by things like the single chip that actually has legible part readers. However, I was hoping that was going to be useful information to me. Instead it's head reference and then a number. I was hoping it was going to have, this is the whatchamacallit board. Nope. So once again we've got massive amount of shielding, but this time we have delay line memory on here. You know what that means? We're actually in the video processing section, because delay line's used to essentially as an form of error correction between the video source, so part of it will be going in a delay line which is analysed later. There's a whole load of clever analog goodness behind it. So we'll be looking at video amplifiers. This will be some sort of vidamp chip, that type of jazz. It doesn't seem to be directly linking to the Vidicon Tube, but there are direct links to this particular PCB which drives the Vidicon Tube. And we have some more sort of shielding / more insulation to stop this PCB shorting out against the shielding of the tube, which is a very bad thing indeed, especially when you've got kilovolts flying around. I'd imagine the kilovolt generator is located in here. We shall see, but then we've seen one on the other board, so it's yet to be found what is in this part of the shielding thing. So let's continue. So here's the head unit, well, the unit that you carry, which links to an external microphone and the CRT viewfinder. Now the CRT viewfinder actually has no personal actual video processing driver circuits in it, so it's all done within the camera. I'm hoping to find the relevant components and be able to rebuild the viewfinder's video driver circuitry. But there's nothing on this board. This all just looks like filtration. Not much here. Good old crappy paper PCB, but that's good old 80s for you. So here's the CRT module, or should I say Vidicon module, and the front of it with the colour filter, because this is actually colour, so it uses special filtration, looks a bit like a CCD. So we'll crack into this module and have a look at exactly what's inside, but it looks like we've got coil wires here, and we've got wires going into the mysterious box part. Here we go. 1.6 amp, 125 volts, and there we might have some sort of power supply in there or something. Might be to do with that actually, the filter system. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. See you in a bit. Here we have the entire lens assembly, complete with the optical detection focusing mechanism. I would imagine there'll be some interesting circuitry in here along with some rather nice optics. And then there we have the digital module down there. We'll be cracking into this in a bit, and of course it's relevant backplane with the switches on, and it also has a power transistor down there, and there's the two main circuit boards, and of course the Vidicon driver board and the video board and a plastic cover. Interesting. The plastic cover that goes on the back has red LEDs. My only guess to why they could be on there is it's some form of like reference testing to inject a known light source into it to reference test the tube for some weird reason, but exactly why you'd need this I do not know. If you know, put in the comments if you're more sure. And here we have inside the digital module, as proven by the little panel, and that is a little 4-bit microcomputer as they're called back then, but basically it's a microcontroller. There isn't much between it except passives, and there's also another shielded can, but we can take detailed look at those in other videos or maybe later on in this one. For now I just want to continue pulling all the electronics out the casing. Now we're through to the handle, which has the zoom, the record, and a knob that does fast and controls the speed of the zoom. This also has supercapacitors in for the to act as a clock battery for the real-time clock, which will of course be handled by the digital board, along with all the on-screen displays that you would see pop up in the viewfinder. That can go in the pile of bits to look at later and pull to bits and whatnot. Now we're getting down to the really interesting stuff. This is an AWB filter, and when you put it down, it moves the white filter, if we knock the down like that, and also we have a sunlight filter, which is the orange one that keeps popping up and down. Daylight, it puts in the orange filter to protect the Vidicon because there it's sensitive to extreme levels of light and can be damaged. And here we have the iris control mechanism. Let's show you the iris working. Look at that, isn't that just beautiful? Also acts as its shutter. Beautiful. Under the cover we have our beautiful gear head motors. Absolutely beautiful. Along with a nice PCB mechanisms. You can hear a click from where the lens triggers the shut off for the motor. Look at that. Oh, beautiful. And then of course we have the optical, and I think that's the optical sender. I haven't yet torn it down. That's the receiver. Got a lovely little sensor in there that's just about visible. There you go, there you can see it. Nice photodiode or something. In fact, we can tell. Yeah, that'll be a photodiode or phototransistor of some type. Not much in the way of digital logic. It looks like it's just motor driver type stuff and all that happy jazz. It's all done from the digital board controlled. Absolutely wonderful piece of tech. I mean, this is beautiful. Absolutely lovely lens optics. I told you this would be where all the good stuff is. Oh dear, we're almost out of time. Other parts of this video will have to come in a follow-up or whatever else. Thanks for watching. A good few hours, and I'm now not in dressing down, but I'm in clothes. We have the other mechanism. Now first we look at the lovely iris mechanism. Look at this. Ah yeah, that looks good. Look at that. Be great to get shots of this in high speed, but I don't have a high speed camera. I need to change that somehow. And the other two shutters, one is a light one, which is this one, which basically puts this orange filter in front of the lens, so to sort of remove some of the light and thus protect it from the sunlight, giving it a sort of orangey tint. And this one, which I'm not quite sure what it's for, but it's semi sort of translucent. You can sort of see out of it. Sort of. I'm not quite sure the point of that one. Perhaps it's for referencing or something, but it's called the AWB. I mean, someone please tell me, what the bloody hell is an AWP? B. God only knows. But let's get to the other interesting bit. Under the shields on the circuit boards though, that's a flyback transformer, is this little module of analog goodness, which has like isolation slots and whatnot on it to protect it from shielding and whatnot. And this one, which was a little more interesting, under here looks pretty normal, but we have some kind of chip with a crystal oscillator. Maybe it's viewfinder driver. I do need to find that to hack it, but yeah, this looks like a major part of the video generation circuitry. But yeah, and from the lens mechanism we've got some wonderful gearhead motors. This is the kind of stuff that's the gold that you get out of these things. Seriously, useful pile, chassis material. Lots of useful stuff. Old cameras are well worth pulling to bits. They're full of all sorts of goodies. Right, after so much after so much anticipation, we are finally going to find out what's inside this module. And also correct a mistake I made earlier on naming something. So, while I get to screwing this bit of kit, I shall stop the camera and have some proof. So, after a very thoroughly good screwing that put my first shag to shame, we have the cover removed. And we have, what was expected, some kind of circuit. I have actually dismantled this before. Sorry, cheating. The circuit, but the Vidicon Tube and its mu metal shielding. I don't know exactly what mu metal is, but apparently it's the only metal that shields against electromagnetic goodness. Well, electromagnetism. It'll be interesting to do some experimentation with that if I actually decide to pull it off. And of course, what I later found out to be the IR filter. let's undo the other screws and pull out these circuit boards. But upon undoing the screws, we have the Vidicon tube. Look at that. It looks like a bit like a CCD actually. And what is also the front end amplifier that will amplify the video signal coming straight into that little transformer. All the transistors are SMT on the bottom, and if we pull this little unit off the front like this, we find out that the unit itself is not actually a colour filter. It is a UV, no, not UV, it is a infrared filter, and the Vidicon has the colour filter built in, as you can see when I shine the bright light into it, which hopefully does not damage it, and it reflects straight off the camera, but you can see all the various reflections and goodness and the rainbow patterns. The colour filter is actually built into the tube. That little unit is just an IR filter, and that is that. And yeah, it was as expected. No disappointments. We like that. But that is all. I can't really think of anything else to dismantle and show you other than the naked lens mechanism. Ooh, sexy. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to put this back together because I kind of like this module as one unit, plus it protects the tube. Shall I take the tube out? Nah, I'm not curious enough.